So, controversial statement, I actually enjoyed the Cleveland show. And whether or not you agree with me or not, it did give us a whole cast of characters that Family Guy has, for various reasons, chosen to either ignore or just plain kill off screen. So in this video, I thought it'd be fun to see what happened to them, or at least what we can infer as of their last episode. But hey, real quick guys, I'm still trying to reach 2,000 subscribers, and if you guys could give me a hand with that, it would be greatly appreciated. So first off, in order to qualify as a main character, you need to appear in and have at a minimum minor roles in multiple episodes, with just a couple of exceptions here and there. And if your favorite background or side character didn't make the cut, I'm sorry, but there's already 36 people to go over, so some things weren't going to make it. But let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll do this again for all the ones that didn't make the list. And with that being said, we are going to start with the Browns/Tubbses. So most of these are pretty easy. Cleveland, Donna, Junior, Roberta, Rollo, and their dog Rock Hudson all moved back to Quahog, Rhode Island when the show was canceled, though very little attention or effort has been given to them, mostly appearing as background characters and not having a lot of speaking roles. As a matter of fact, I think Rollo and Roberta haven't actually had speaking roles since the episode where they came back, with the obvious exceptions of Cleveland and Donna. So Cleveland pretty much fell back into Peter's friend group, and Donna just pals around with Lois and Bonnie, basically just becoming their third woman friend, which was also never really something that Cleveland's previous wife did, but it is what it is. But now we can look at Cecilia, who is Cleveland Jr.'s wife, and she's still working at her aunt's restaurant and going to school, even though her and Junior are still legally married, and she probably should have moved with him to Quahog, but we will probably never learn what actually happened there. Maybe they got divorced, maybe they didn't. I'm pretty sure he did that so she could get her green card, but yeah, who knows. Then Evelyn, Cookie Brown, is actually the first sad news we have, since we found out she passed away when Donna tells Cleveland in a text in the short Mailbox Magnus from Family Guy Season 19, Episode 19, Baby Stewie, do. It was apparently a pretty funny death, since the guys are laughing about it in Season 19, Episode 26, Pete Terminator, so strange way to mourn your mom, but, you know, really who am I to judge? But this would have freed up her husband, LeVar, or Freight Train, who more than likely went back to sleeping around while writing mystery novels and shooting his television show. Things I hate with Freight Train Brown. And now, I wish I could tell you that Cookie was the only off-screen death, but I can't, since Dee Dee Tubbs, Donna's mother, is also dead. We find this out from Cleveland in Season 14, Episode 10, Candy Quahog Marshmallow, that she killed herself. But the funeral went well. We don't know why she killed herself, but in my opinion, it was probably the stress of raising hers and Robert's son, Quang / Hong Kong Phooey, who, as far as we know, is still living with Robert Tubbs. At least we can hope he is, because Robert wasn't exactly the greatest dad to his own kids, but I like to think she had life insurance that Robert could stack on top of his alimony. He still gets from Donna, giving them at least some semblance of a decent life in Stoolbend. And seeing as Robert was like one of the more masculine and manly guys in Stoolbend, the kid's probably going to grow up to be fairly similar to him. So Auntie Mama, or Kevin, Donna's uncle, is sort of tricky, since it's sort of implied that it was an act Kevin put on so Donna could have a strong female role model, and he is only Auntie Mama when he is around her and her family to fulfill that role. But later on, it's sort of implied that this is not the case, and that Kevin is Auntie Mama all the time. Basically, when Kevin stepped up to raise Donna, he also came out and now lives as Auntie Mama as a woman. So I believe she's still going out living the crazy life from the stories she tells the family, but there's a small chance that she has a job and works as Kevin. It's never really fully stated, but I think more than likely she's just Auntie Mama all the time. So now things should go a little bit faster, since we're outside of the family and we haven't really heard anything about the rest of the cast since Cleveland returned to Family Guy. Starting with the Bears. So Tim is most likely still working his managerial role at Waterman Cable. Ariana's still a housewife, unless she ran off with Tim's dad, because that was a reoccurring theme throughout the show, is that Tim's dad is banging Ariana because they're literal bears. And their son Raymond is still going to high school, and he was actually the class donor, so he is probably still just getting literally baked out of his mind. And the kid's got some pretty good stuff, because even Cleveland said he needs to buy some bags from him. Then we have the Crinkle Sacks, and they are pretty easy as well. Lester and Kendra are still the town rednecks, not working and basically just kind of existing. I don't really know what Lester did as a job. He probably has some weird side gig going on. We see Kendra selling Their various creatures live in their house for money. They're not really gardeners. Their son, Ernie, however, unfortunately lost his best friend in Cleveland Jr., so his school life probably went back to being fairly lonely. And that's a shame, since he actually had a lot of talent, like carpentry, as well as he was the mascot for the school. And yeah, so it's kind of a little bit of a sad story there. Or there's the nuclear option, where whenever Cleveland moved away, DHS immediately took him, because that was kind of a stipulation in one of the earlier episodes that, okay, Ernest is going to go back to his parents, but only because Cleveland was there to kind of like mitigate the weird situations they find themselves in. And now for the Rictors. So kind of easy. Holt's still living with his mom, who, though clearly loves her son to let him live with her in his late, like, 40s, is still living her life, traveling and enjoying herself, even though most of that time she doesn't take him with her. And he's probably still having, let's just say, an odd relationship with his sex doll, Kimmy. I mean, there's someone out there for everybody, even if they're not real. General Richter probably went back to the military, and the last we knew of him, he was serving overseas. Honestly, not sure if that is still happening in the Family Guy universe at this point, but he is definitely still not on the best of terms with Holt, even though he was present to hand over like their keepsakes whenever the kids as grown men finally stood up to their dads, like is that passing in the torch ceremony. But with the war in Afghanistan being over in real life, I don't believe he actually is still doing that, but you know what, we'll see. Next we have the Kimples. So Terry Kimples is still a cable installer at Waterman Cable, living his best life with his husband Paul, who is still a fireman. Although there is a chance their relationship is a little bit more open, since in several seasons in the series, after their marriage, we see that Terry was actually around a lot of women. But it's actually possible his work life got a little less, like, more boring, and he quit getting a lot of gifts, because Mr. Waterman, we're going to get to later on, is no longer with the company. So I don't know, who knows, but I think they're still living their best life together. There was never really an implication that they ever got divorced. So now, to finish off what I like to call the Broken Stool Gang, Gus is still running the stool, probably serving alcohol to Lester, Tim, Holt, Terry, Dr. Fist, who hang out there almost every night. And speaking of Dr. Fist, he is the town's only doctor. He hopefully is still doing that, especially since he no longer has to worry about the mob and chose to stay in Stoolbend. Next up, we've got the rest of the Morenos. Now, we already talked about Cleveland Jr.'s wife, but now we have Choni is still managing her family's restaurant, Choni's Katana, and probably trying to reach the top of the food business in Stoolbend, all the while raising her son Marco, who is attending school at Harper Elementary, and more than likely being kind of groomed to take over the family businesses, because last we knew, Choni not only had her restaurant, but she also was running food trucks. So more than likely, they've just continued onto that path. After them, though, we've got the Watermans. So Lloyd is either still living the rich tycoon lifestyle while running Waterman Cable with his lover, Mr. Connor, since they actually killed his wife, Lydia, to be together. In Season 4, Episode 16, Who Done Did It? But there is a chance that he is still trying to get into Terry Kimples' pants, but seeing as he's sort of married, I would hope Terry wouldn't actually do that. Going along with all of that, he could also still be bringing random men into his house, and I would not put that past him, but more than likely, these two are still in prison. Unless they use his money to get out, don't really know. I think there might be a scene after they go to prison where he's out, I can't remember, but to round this off, we got the Stoolbend High group, kinda. So Principal Wally Farquaad has probably still got a few things going on. He is a leader of the Scouts, still performing with his band, the Fluffers, and like his title would imply, he is still the principal of Stoolbend High School. Though I'm guessing now that Cleveland is gone, he most likely cut the funding from the sports again. But to his credit, the fact that he does all of this, which a bunch of this is actually outside of his responsibilities as a principal, he does very much care about his students, and you can kind of tell that just from like what he has going on with the school. So my guess is he's definitely still the principal at the high school. Gabriel Friedman, aka Federline Jones, is actually kind of a tough one. It's also sort of strange that he's so low on this list, since he was Roberta's boyfriend throughout the series. But other than him still trying to be a wannabe rapper, he really didn't seem to have that much ambition or really anything else going on. So since they moved away and he's not trying to impress Roberta anymore, there is a good chance that he kind of fell into like his, for lack of a better word, Jewish lifestyle. And I know there's not really a lot of sense that makes, but it's the only real way I can kind of describe it. where he kind of just becomes like super proper and kind of just embraces his own heritage more. And yeah, so he's probably doing that since whenever he was not with Roberta, that's kind of like where he fell back into. But you know what though? I hope he makes it at least a little big in the music world. I liked Federline, and in the few episodes he actually got some development. He can actually be pretty complex, so I would just kind of like to see him get at least a little bit of win with his music career, but you know, we'll never know. But finally, we've got Coach Finley McFall, and he is probably a little better off in life since it seems like he was keeping work more consistently at the school and at the stool. So I like to think he's no longer homeless and is doing at least a little better, but he also could just be on the streets since Cleveland Jr. left and they probably was putting in good words for him to keep him working. Somehow I lost the photo that I had for Harper Elementary. It's actually Mrs. Hadassah Lowenstein, and she is definitely still a teacher. She seemed to be a good one, but I do hope she ended up actually like having kids or adopting, since she said she pretends the school kids are hers in season 4 episode 19, Blind Ambition. And I would kind of like for her to have a happy ending there, but also, I mean, she is bringing up the next generation, so that's definitely what she is still doing. And then this final category is just others, and that would be Murray. Assuming he is still alive, my guess is he's still living at the retirement home and going to the barbershop with his pals, spying on girls in the college dorm. But unfortunately, since Rollo was one of the few people he would go and hang out with, he is probably not doing a whole lot of that anymore. But like I said, once again, it sucks that we'll never know, and that's assuming he's still alive. So. But then finally, we've got Kenny West still pursuing his rap career and living the life of a superstar, and hopefully being a good dad to his daughter. But the last time we saw her, she was a spoiled brat, and we didn't see her in the last appearance. So who knows? But we do know her mom ran off of Bret Michaels on the Rocket Love bus, so he's kind of all she has, and so she's probably a spoiled rich brat, but that's is probably what it is. But that is the fate of all the major characters in the Cleveland show. Once again, if I missed anyone, I'm sorry, but also let me know about that in the comments down below, as well as anything I got wrong. If you don't agree with me with any of the characters, let me know in the comments below why. Let's start a good conversation down there. But I want to say here, like, overall, I think the town of Stoolbend is probably lesser now that Cleveland isn't there. Like, he actually did bring like an energy to the town, and him and his friends did, though not great work, and they usually just fixed the problems that they solved. They did solve a lot of problems as well, and Cleveland bringing back the baseball program, even if it was just for the 4 years that they were there, would have definitely like helped a bunch of those kids, like that the deaf kid Oliver in the show. He had special needs, but he was a baseball star and a jock, so giving him that outlet definitely probably helped him out in the long run. But let me know what you guys think, and while you're in the comments, guys, please remember to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you never miss another video from me, and I will see you guys in the next video.